Okay, we've all had those sessions. You sit down excited to make a track, but before you know it, inspiration has vanished. You spiral into self-doubt, and your song winds up in the graveyard of unfinished music on your hard drive. But there's actually a system you can build to fix that. And at the core of this system is one simple breakthrough that changed how I write and produce music forever. So, in this video, I'm going to show you what this breakthrough is, how it revolutionized my production process, and how to set it up for yourself. But we can't get there unless we understand why inspiration vanishes in the first place. And that means observing your work from a higher level, not just what gear and techniques you use, but how your mind behaves during the creative process. I love this stuff. You see, in every session, we can take actions that increase inspiration. They generate momentum and space for your song to emerge. It could be writing melodies, figuring out beat flows, arrangement, sampling. And then there's also actions that increase precision, but they need us to zoom in. And that narrows our focus, which makes it hard to keep track of the big picture. So like scrolling for sounds, detailed editing, and even mixing. The tricky thing is, these zoomed in tasks are part of making a record. They are important, so we feel like we're doing good work for the good of the music. But during those early writing and production sessions, they obstruct the flow of your ideas because they pull your focus from channeling the essence of the music itself. The lost inspiration problem peaked for me well over 10 years ago. I was 6 Grammy nominations into my career, my mixing work was blowing up, and I'd built my dream studio. But the world-class work I was doing as a mixer and finisher of records was actually killing my ability to write and create from scratch. It took me way too long to figure this out, but I realized that the majority of lost songs happened because my focus kept collapsing from exploring big ideas into obsessing over tiny details. When I'd switch from developing the arrangement to lining up kick drum transients. When I'd avoid finding the right source sound because I wanted to make my compressor pump just right. And I would get those details perfect, but then it was almost impossible to reconnect with the big picture and imagine new ideas again. Now, the easy shorthand to understand this is exploration versus finishing. They are both critical phases of developing a song, but they need to happen in the right sequence, at the right time. It's really hard to switch between these modes. If you try using your finishing moves too early, you're just fiddling. And if you try exploring too late, you're only going sideways, and both times the music suffers. So when it comes to those early idea sessions, exploration is everything. The big picture is what matters. But real talk, this part of the process is hard. You have to make some really important decisions. You have to remain present, open, focused, and vulnerable even. It can be uncomfortable. So your mind will start looking for shiny release valves to avoid the challenging work. And that is when the rabbit holes claim you and send your songs to the graveyard. So you need to build guardrails to guide your creative process. They will keep you in exploration mode early on and then let you easily move into the details when it's time to finish. Once you build this into your system, you'll be playing a totally different game. You'll enjoy the same breakthrough that I did, and here's what it is. I spent 4 years learning and testing every major DAW, looking for one place that could handle everything the creative process could ever demand, and none of them could. So the breakthrough is to actually split your system with one DAW for exploration and the other for finishing. For me, I chose Ableton Live as the optimum place to write, produce, and explore. And I set it up to be my sonic playground. There's no nerdy mixing plugins or complex routing to overwhelm my tiny brain in there. So this is where my songs and the identity of my productions are born. And then I chose Pro Tools to be stocked with fine, detailed tools that are genuinely useful at the end stages of a production. So this is where serious performances are captured and edited, and where my songs are mixed and finished. Ableton Live is where I focus on the 20% of writing and production that gives me 80% of the song's identity, emotion, and character. I focus on doing my fundamentals to the highest level here and never move on until I am convinced that I have them right. And Pro Tools is where I take that rock solid 80% and focus on the final incremental gains that elevate a production to the highest level. I never use these techniques as a crutch early on to try to convince myself that a lackluster production is good enough. Once you make this change, writing and production sessions get more fun, more interesting, more exhilarating, more creative. You reduce technical choices, increasing mental energy for creative fundamentals and the mystical channeling of the art herself. So instead of stressing about mixing while you write, just adjust the balance as needed. Faders only. Classic split recording consoles are built this way for a reason. If things don't feel right with simple volume changes, it's time to ask deeper questions. Is this chord voiced the right way in the right range? To get the low end to breathe right, how about we try a shorter kick drum instead of transient designing the existing one? Do we have enough top-end percussion movement to make this section exciting? Is this part not cutting through because it's obscured by another instrument, or do we need to change the sound itself? And of course, the ultimate deep question, what are we actually trying to say here? Once you're consistently working on big picture, high impact choices, your brain receives fresh input and stimulation over and over again. You'll start hearing new ideas constantly. The speakers will tell you what they want. Momentum carries you. It's so much harder to get stuck in the loop. And by removing technical crutches from your creative process, you're guided to create stronger sonic fundamentals, which means that when you mix, you're no longer burdened by trying to solve issues. Mixing becomes way faster, more creative, more instinctive. You're no longer using mixing as a means of second-guessing your production. You become present with what your speakers are telling you right now. And what's cool is that detailed moves that would have kind of lost the plot on your song early on now become really significant enhancements. They are precise song finishers. So by splitting the exploration and finishing stages between different software environments with different tool sets, your mind is naturally guided to focus on the right questions at the right time. It's easy because you don't even have to think about it. It becomes second nature, which lets you create with more instinct and finish with more confidence. Setting this up for yourself is really easy. The first step you need to take is organizing your plugins into two basic categories. And I'm sure you can guess what they are. That's right. It's exploration and finishing. Now, the exploration plugins, they're the bold things. They have character. They're dramatic, not subtle at all. So instruments and creative effects live in this category. Like imagine you're the guitarist in the live room of a big studio. These plugins would be the equivalent of what you'd want on your side of the glass, like your instrument, your pedals, and your amp. So think of your exploration plugins like expressive musicians' tools that shape your tones. The finishing effects, though, tend to be more like what you'd find in the control room. So precise EQs, finely tweakable dynamics, tape machines, high-end reverbs, and delays. What would an engineer want in their locker to cover every eventuality? Now, some plugins are great to use in both situations, stuff like Eventide pitch shifters and delays, or Native Instruments guitar rig multi-effects. But authentically modeled analog outboard recreations or super precise EQs and mastering tools, like there's no way I'm letting them in my exploration setup. And likewise, I don't want a ton of random instruments, sequencers, and chaos machines slowing down my session when I'm trying to finish. Oh, and of course, there's actually a third category, plugins you thought would be cool, but you just never use. Remove these from your system altogether. So Be bold when you're making this change. Be ruthless. Remember, each plugin you remove will create more space for your music to emerge into the world. Next, it's time to set up your plugin folders. Because Pro Tools only uses its proprietary AAX plugin format and Live uses audio units and VSTs, it's easy to have a separate collection in each. So pull all of those finishing plugins out of your audio unit or VST folder, and then get rid of the exploration plugins from your AAX folder. Declutter complete. And that's it. Now when you boot up Live, you'll enjoy an inspiring grab bag of creative exploration tools. Stick with using your faders for balance, and when something doesn't feel right, fix it at the source. You'll become a way better producer as a result. And then when you go to finish in Pro Tools, you'll be starting with fresh WAV files in a clean session. Now, this step alone is huge because you'll be hearing your music fresh with a whole new perspective in a whole new environment. You'll be able to focus intently on delivering a great mix with your honed collection of deadly finishing tools. And you will become a way better mixer as a result. In both cases, the focused plugin collections will help you make faster decisions while you're working. Your projects will load faster, your machine will be more stable and more responsive. Your sessions will flow more smoothly, which will let your instinct shine and your creativity skyrocket. So, now that you understand how splitting your system between exploration and finishing modes keeps you inspired and energized, click this next video to find out how to speed up your process even more.